Hey, MotoAmerica fans. This is Paul Carruthers, the communications manager for MotoAmerica, and this is our weekly podcast, Off Track. I'm joined, as always, by Sean Bice, who's out in Ohio. We recently spent, obviously, the weekend together at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which is always a treat. And I think any of you guys who saw it on TV, or one of the few people that were able to attend, I think you saw a hell of a show, and I think it was, man, I think we showed really well at that one, Sean.
Yeah, it was great to be there. I mean, not only with that facility, it really presented some really good racing for us, but I mean, there were so many storylines that came out of that and during that race that it was a good one. And then we got this one more coming up too. So, and it's always good at Laguna Seca too. So, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, I should say. But yeah, it was great at Indy.
Yeah, it's cool to end our season that, was as much as it was a very difficult season for, for the entire world, actually, with the pandemic. I mean, I'm really proud at how we were able to really get through this thing, and not just get through it, but kind of thrive. So I think it was good, all the teams and all the riders, and I know they're appreciative of what we were able to do, because, at some point, if we, it would have been easy to just say, hey, COVID this and COVID that, and we pull the plug, and that's not what we did. Thanks to Richard Varner and the other partners, there was a lot of work put into making this season happen, and as it turns out, I think we'll look back at this season, and it'll be one of our best ones ever. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, that was definitely the silver lining in this COVID situation is it affected our spectators and fans being able to come to our rounds. We did have some rounds where we had fans, but the nice thing was that we were able to do a lot more with TV, and it really expanded us around the globe. I mean, it's amazing. We were hearing along the way things like we'd find out we were going to be in, on whatever the ESPN version is in South Africa, and of course we'd been on Eurosport. And since we do have a lot of riders from other countries and getting more riders from other countries all the time, it's kind of cool that we're able to show ourselves around. I think one of the best things, Paul, we both liked this is when Lorenzo Zanetti won, it was cool to see that Mario Andretti actually tweeted out and congratulated him on the win, which is pretty awesome. That was nice to see.
Yeah, it's always cool when you get somebody like that follows you on Twitter, and actually cares and is involved and is paying attention, and comments on it like that. I mean, it's, I don't think there's too many people around. Even if you're a young millennial, I think the name Mario Andretti still probably means something to you've probably heard of him in some way, shape, or form, either through your parents or hell, even your grandparents. So yeah, it was cool that he was paying attention to Moto America. I know he has a relationship with Wayne, so
Yep.
I'm sure that helps, and I'm sure that's how he, at least got involved and knew what we were up to. So it's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So we've had some big news here in the, well, actually
Oh,
today, but things
yeah.
have just been going crazy. It was kind of felt like I was at Cycle News again, which is kind of fun. I like hammering out those news stories as fast as we can get them. But I found it interesting that Brandon Posh is going to ride the Honus Kawasaki, or one of the Honus Kawasaki's. Obviously, Richie Escalante is still going to ride one, and in turn, HSBK Celtic Racing has got JD Beach to come back. So I think it's a win-win for everybody. It'll be interesting to see how Brandon goes on the Kawasaki, and it's always good to have JD back. He's popular, and everybody knows how good he is. It'll be curious to see. I'm curious to see how quickly he can get up to speed. He's obviously been dirt tracking all year, but it's a little bit different. But knowing JD, I don't think it'll take too much time for him to find his feet again.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to test it all. It's funny, my wife last night, she knows from talking to me how little these guys get to actually road race, except, I mean, outside of actually racing themselves. And we know that JD does more riding than I think anybody in terms of whether it's on his turn track at home or what he's doing in American flat track. But I used to always laugh when Colin Edwards would say, I think I just need to pop a couple wheelies and I'll remember it or something. But these guys always have a knack of being able to go on a road race track and go pretty fast, even though they hadn't done it in a long time. So, I'm sure JD will be up there with all of them. But yeah, what an amazing thing Brandon Pasha. I mean, we saw him during the year. Obviously, they're competitive teams. The team he was on, and he was sort of teasing Richie a little bit on that displacement thing, and now here Brandon's going to be on the same bike. So
Yeah,
it's funny
kind
how
of if you can't beat
does
them,
that.
join them type thing, I
That's
guess.
exactly. It's a classic case of that. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So, and for the last race too, it's amazing that he's just going to switch up like that.
Yeah, well, speaking of the last race, I want to get started with our guest.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody, when we announced that we were going to do this King of the Baggers event at Laguna Seca, and as you know as well as I do, there were a few people that are like, oh, what the hell are you guys doing? This is stupid. Then there were some other people that were on board right away. Well, now, I mean that the event has created so much interest. The amount of media credentials I've that have been applied for Laguna Seca, and a lot of them are specifically like, "Hey, we're coming for the baggers. Hey, we're coming for the baggers." I mean, it's really it's going to be really interesting to watch. I think everybody's excited to see it. I think whether you're against it or you're for it, I still think you're going to watch it, which shows you just how cool it is. But we're
yeah.
fortunate today to have with us one of the guys who's actually going to throw his leg over a bagger and do battle with it. And he's tested the bike quite a bit, and it's one of the reasons I wanted to have him on here so we could actually talk to him about how these bikes are actually to ride around a racetrack. So without further ado, let's bring in Tyler O'Hara. Tyler, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Paul. Hey, Sean. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, sorry about that long intro. I hope you didn't fall asleep, but we wanted to update some people on some things that have been going on. But yeah, welcome to the podcast, and I haven't seen you in a while. I usually see you at Sonoma every year, and we didn't get to go there this year, so I miss seeing you. But you're a long time, well, not a long time, but you raced with MotoAmerica back in the very beginning, and it seems like from following you on social media, you're always riding a motorcycle of some sort, whether it's supermoto or even out with the kids or whatever. But tell us a little bit about this baggers thing, and what did you think about it when it was originally brought up?
When it was first announced, I got a couple phone calls and wasn't quite sure what to expect or kind of wrap my head around it really. And um, I went down to Daytona for the Daytona 200 and had a good showing before we got postponed. And Paul Langley, Sns Cycles, approached me. And said we got a really good opportunity for you, and we'll work with the Indian motorcycle manufacturer, and we want you to ride our bagger. And I kind of said, hey, Paul, that's just not where I'm at right now. I'm not really into it. And they pursued me pretty hard, and just from my V twin experience, prior to MotoAmerica, I raced the other manufacturer for 4 or 5 years, and it was pretty dominant and pretty comfortable on the big V twin heavy bikes. It's kind of my specialty, overweight hill handling bikes, and so anyway, it worked out where I get to represent Indian Motorcycle and SNS Cycles, and we got the new Indian Challenger, which is the modern day bagger, and it's actually a pretty impressive motorcycle. I didn't know what to expect. Um, just riding a bagger. I've never rode a bagger before this, and Indian Motorcycle sent me out a stock Indian Challenger so I could kind of wrap my head around it and get a little bit of seat time on it before I went out and tested the race bike. And I ended up riding it for a couple hours, and now I got a couple thousand miles on the bike just because it's so fun and easy to ride. And you can ride it slow and enjoy it, or you can whip it up and have torque and burn the tire and slide around. So it's an opportunity for me to work with a manufacturer and showcase the bike in front of a lot of people. And right now we're kind of breaking the internet. People are going nuts. They either love it or hate it. And I'm just having a lot of fun with this one.
So people would naturally think that they would be difficult to ride, especially around a racetrack at speed. But you've kind of just said that that's not necessarily the case.
Well, it doesn't have the Milwaukee wobble. Let's just say that it's a proper, motorcycle. The weight is very well balanced. It's very easy to ride as far as the stock version. Obviously, the race bike we've made some modifications to make it a little more front end bias. Working on hitting the apex and just trying to get the bike balanced. And the team at SNS Cycles, they've taken over 200 pounds off the stock bike, so it's quite a bit lighter and easier to ride and turn in the transitions and got more power out of it as well. So it's a fun project, man. It's like you said, there's a lot of attention and a lot of people don't really know what to expect. But we just after this last test, I feel pretty confident and comfortable on the bike and pretty impressed actually.
Tyler, how do you ride it? Because I mean, my entire life of riding motorcycles, I've never been comfortable riding on a motorcycle where my feet are in front of, I guess, just below me. I mean, a standard upright bike's not bad. Obviously, rear set's a little further back's okay, but anything in front of me, including riding on a scooter, sometimes feels a little disconcerting. It just doesn't feel right. And talk about this bike, the seating position on it. I assume your feet are still a little bit forward. And when you go on a road racing track, particularly down through the corkscrew, I mean, your guys aren't getting your knee down. I mean, how do you ride the bike?
Well, so I was fortunate enough to ride the stock Indian Challenger at Laguna Seca at a track day, and
Wow.
it was it was a good eye opener for as far as what we needed to work on, and I was kind of riding it like a dirt tracker, kind of leg out, and it wasn't really dragging a knee. I was kind of dragging the floorboards first, before I could drag a knee, and the stock version, the ergonomics are really comfortable and they're built for the highway, obviously, and cruising and going long distance. Where the race version, basically we got custom rear sets that are basically back where the passenger foot pegs are, so they're up and back, and ergonomics. I got a lot more over the front as far as body positioning, a lot more road racy, and the seat height is about 4 inches higher than stock, and I was a little nervous just because it is up pretty high seat height and the foot pegs that I was going to be not even be able to drag knee, but we're able to lean it over quite a bit and drag knee and handles pretty well. The bike's pretty balanced and it's got so much torque. I mean, you can burn the tire off the corner and you can back it in like it's a sport bike. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, that I didn't know that you could actually drag a knee. So that's amazing. It's different than I thought it was going to be because I just didn't think that was possible. I thought your feet are quite a bit in front of you, but they're not bad. Now, how about the bars? Are they kind of clip-ons or are you reaching for them? I mean, what's that setup like?
That took us a little while to kind of get that dialed in. Basically, we're running the stock triple clamps with the bars that come back towards the tank, and we lowered them basically like flat drag bars, but we got clip-ons with a little bend in them, a little degree, kind of basically the same bend you'd have on a road race bike, and we just got them as low as possible. And then we had to put steering stops in because we were hitting the tank. But the ergonomics, it's actually it's pretty comfortable, and this project, they really have all hands on deck. We got the Gary Gray, the racing director of Indian Motorcycle, was at the test on Tuesday, and then we have everybody at SNS Cycles really just doing whatever it takes to make the bike comfortable for myself, and just from the experience on the V-twin previous years, and engineers at Polaris were at the test as well, and we just they're really it's a big opportunity for them as well.
So when I look at the entry list, I think it ended up being 2 Indians against 11 Harleys. Is it? I know from the Dirt Track series that there's a real rivalry there, and of late,
Yeah.
Harley hasn't done so well. So I think they're really gunning for the Indian at Laguna. Do you feel that at all?
Oh yeah, no, I definitely feel the rivalry. Just before I even kind of confirmed this deal, it's the amount of the emphasis they're putting on this thing to go win this race. It's a big effort, and Vance and Hines is everyone else is putting the big 131s and these big 137 kits in there, and pushing quite a bit of horsepower. We're basically running the stock chassis and running the new power plant, the 108, and it's the torque is it's got plenty of torque, and if anything, we're kind of detuning it a little bit so we can put the power down to the ground. But we're counting on our handling to get the job done, and it's gonna be fun. I definitely. The plan is to go out and try to lead every session and try to finish the job and get the win for sure.
Tyler, educate us a little bit on SNS and the bike, because it's funny with SNS. I always think of them as being manufacturers of their own kind of proprietary engine. A lot of guys will put SNS engines into, cruiser frames or something. But this is, like you said, this is an Indian engine. So what on the bike? There are obviously a lot of components on the bike that are probably manufactured by SNS, but what's that company like in terms of, like I said, I thought it was engines, but they obviously do a lot more than that.
Yeah, so it's actually, a lot of our competitors are actually running the SNS 131 motor, the kit, the bolt in, put it in and it's ready to go motors. So SNS Cycles it's a company out of Wisconsin, Smith family. They're an exhaust manufacturer. They make cams, heads, cylinders, machining. They build drag motors. They do land speed records, everything in house, and proven performance since 1958. And they've been around for a long time. And to be involved with a company like that just has the capabilities to whip up a cam, or build rear sets, or the 3D CAD designer to change a part or make a part. It's first class. And being involved with Indian Motorcycle with their flat track program, they run the flat track program and they won the championship last year. And basically, they're in it to win it, and definitely it's a great company to be working with and be involved with.
Another thing I want to ask you, Tyler. So one of the things when we do this podcast is, Paul and I try to ask questions that we think the people that are listening would want to know, but we also try to ask questions that we want to know. And this is a question that I'm not sure if people want to know, but I certainly do. I've known about your racing career for a long time. And I know there was a time where I believe Josh Chisholm had a team that you raced for, or vice versa. And I know that Josh is racing the Barnett Clutches Harley-Davidson in this King of the Baggers. You guys must be good friends, and you've kind of had a relationship with each other over the years. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we ran the XR 1200s together, and we raced together for a couple years. And Josh Chisholm is a great guy, and I'm excited that he's going to be out there riding a bike, and just it'll be a fun little rivalry, to be on a different manufacturer and to ride around with him. He's always a good time, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, did he raced a Yamaha a couple of years ago, or a few years ago, I thought. And I thought maybe you were racing at the same time in Stock 1000 or Super Stock. Is that true?
Yeah. We transitioned from the XR 1200s to the super stock class, and we ran the R1, and we got on the podium a couple of times. We got fourth overall at Atlanta, and it was kind of when the class was a little more raw and the super stocks weren't so dialed in, and Jake Gagne had his bike pretty well dialed in, and then we were there every weekend, and that's obviously that's where the goal was, to transition to superbike. But with the opportunities being limited and everything, it just worked out that had to go in a different direction.
Okay, I may be wrong here, and it's going to ruin my little story, but because we just came from Indianapolis, am I correct in thinking that you won your first Harley race there?
Yeah, so since 1909, that was a dream race for myself. Just being at the Indianapolis MotoGP weekend 2011, we showed up in a U-Haul van, and we had to park across the street with the
I remember
spectators,
that.
and just we were just it was it was a real gritty performance, and just I'm proud of myself and for just believing in myself, and the class. With they had a lot of competition. Bobby Fong, Jason DeSalvo, we had Jeremy McWilliams, MotoGP rider, Hasif Sarin, Moto2 rider, former MotoGP rider, Benny Carlson. I mean, Danny Eslick. I mean, the list goes on, and how competitive that class was. But to get my first win there, and then to actually go back to back the next year to win back to back years is pretty special. I that was definitely a good one to win, and then just to be able to go win it again is very special. And that track, it's got so much history, and it's very special to
Yeah,
me.
so it'll be one of those stories. It'll be a good one to tell the kids. You didn't actually win races. You won races at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which not everyone can say that. So that's kind of cool. Why don't we?
Yeah.
There's also people don't know about this probably, and I didn't even know myself until recently. But you're going to be pulling some sort of double duty at Laguna Seca because of your involvement with the young road racers. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that and how that's been put together?
Yeah, so a lot of my coaching and stuff I've been doing in training. I'm always keeping my eye on a lot of younger talent. I've been helping out Hayden Mang in the Junior Cup Ovalle class, and then as well as Max Toth. He's a current Moto3 Italian national championship CIV Moto3 rider, and it worked out with his schedule that he's able to wild card Laguna Seca on my Floyd's Leadville T3 Racing Ninja 400, and I'm really excited about this. He's a really young talent. He's another Northern California kid. He's a good kid. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He comes from a great family, and I really think we're going to have a shot being up front, and looking forward to just mentoring him and being able to coach him, and just have a plan, make a plan for himself. So basically, I'll be fielding him on my Ninja 400 built by MTech Motorcycles, and just all the resources that I've had over the years with Gary Medley, and just True Chief, and just building the bike how I would build it to go try to win the class. And then just last year we ran Josh Cernay, and this year it works out that Max Toth is coming on board to wild card at Laguna Seca, and I'm really looking forward to just mentoring him and coaching him, and trying to get him up on the box.
Yeah, I remember last year when you were with Josh Cernay, and I remember how delighted I was to come over and talk to you guys at the time. And I've talked to Josh a fair amount, and so I didn't realize that that's your bike that he was riding, and this is your bike again that Max is going to ride. So that's interesting that you, and also very cool of you, Tyler, to have a bike like that available to bring these young riders up and through. That's pretty awesome on your part. Good thing to do for everybody.
Yeah, I enjoy it, and it keeps me sharp. I get to go ride with these kids, and just from the experience that I have, and just, a lot of these kids, you just got to give them a plan and have a plan every session, and just, make them believe in themselves. And, he's got the talent, and, he's been on the podium at Mugello and Moto3, pre-Moto3, and he's a top 10 kid in the Italian championship right now. And, I got a couple Ninja 400s I do rental coaching with at the kart tracks, and keeps me training, and it's just me giving back to the sport I love, and just helping these kids keep them on the right track and giving them up.
Yeah, I mean it's as you know, it's so valuable, and it's good to see these kids have somebody like yourself that can help them. Did you have that at all, or were you just like figuring this stuff out on your own?
I just kind of figured it out on my own, really. I've definitely had some support and some breaks and some sponsorship to keep me going along the way. But if I was to, it's funny because I kind of grew up dirt tracking, and then I went Pro Supermoto and Race X Games and everything, and then I got into the XR 1200 class, and I raced the 600 as well. And I kind of, and then I went to the 1000s, the leader bikes. And now I've kind of gone backwards, where I got a couple Ninja 400s, and I got a Ovalle 190, and I've kind of, it's helped me, kind of getting on the smaller bikes and sharpening my tools and learning about carrying momentum and riding the small wheels on the volley, and then being able to ride with these kids and get down to their level and seeing how fast they really are going. It's fun.
When you were
one more point on that, sorry to cut you off, Sean. One more point on that is
that's all right.
There seems to be, like, as you mentioned, you came up racing dirt track, and I think we always think about most of these people that are successful now, at least the older ones, did that same path. But now it seems like the kids are taking a different path that doesn't necessarily include dirt track. And you mentioned the Ovalle and things like that. Do you see that? Do you see that kind of making a change?
I think it's great. I think it's filling the void for kids getting out on the track and being able to race at these national events with these big teams. And Hayden Mang, he's one of the kids I coached this year and able to train with. And, he's young enough to where he's getting the racing experience and he's building his racecraft. And so by the time that he's 13, 14, like Max is, Max is basically kind of taken the European approach, and his dad has got him over there racing all this Italian kids, and there's a lot more depth and talent over there. So, his skill level and his racecraft is at a high level right now. And I see that in America as a great opportunity and an entry level to get out there and build your racecraft and showcase your talents in front of the big teams and just building our talent level. We have a lot more talent now at the younger age than I've ever seen.
That's a good point. And it's something people don't realize is, it's obviously the mission of MotoAmerica to develop the riders, but it even starts before that. And it's funny you mentioned about Hayden Meng. We've run a lot of video of him and done some a bunch of promotion with him. The one thing I have to, as a writer and as a constant proofreader of things, Tyler, this is probably going to make you laugh, but whenever I see his name, I want to put an E in there. I mean, I don't understand why his first name is spelled Haydn. It's not Hayden, but anyway, that's just my problem, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I think as a motorcycle racer, when you give people your signature, your autograph, you always got to ask them, how do you spell your name? Just because everyone spells it different. And I think it's unique, and it's that's who he is. He's a good kid, and I'm not sure about. I think it. Yeah.
That's just me, of course, but you're right. I mean, it's kind of cool. He'll be known for that, for one thing. I wanted to ask you about Max Toth at Laguna Seca, specifically the sponsor. You had you and Josh Jernay last year had the sponsor of Floyd's of Leadville. I know you've had them as a sponsor yourself for a while. And can you tell the story about Floyd's of Leadville and what they are and who they are? Because I don't know that it's that widely known, at least maybe in motorcycle racing, what that company is all about.
Yeah, so Floyd's of Leadville is a CBD hemp company, basically run by Floyd Landis, former Tour de France winner, and it's marketed towards athletes and recovery and motorcycle racing, extreme sports athletes, and a lot of injuries and people getting hurt. And there's almost there is an epidemic in our country with opioids. And I had a crash in 2015 and took the homeopathic approach and went the CBD route, and I think it saved my career. And to have them on board. They came on board for Daytona last year, Daytona 200, and transitioned into getting them in front of the MotoAmerica fans, and we were able to have a vendor booth, and basically we got protein powders, we got topicals, creams, hydration fuel, and everything that you as an athlete or just anybody with anxiety and stuff like that would use. And then to have them on board with, Floyd Landis is a pretty well-known cyclist, and to have him support my program is a big deal. And to be able to showcase them this year is it's exciting have them still involved.
And what's your relationship with them? Do you work with them? I mean, it sounds like you obviously are a customer as well, but do you actually work for the company?
Yeah, so I'm a Floyd's Leadville athlete ambassador. I represent them. And, when we ran Laguna Seca, they shipped me all the product and I set up the vendor booth. And then we run the vendor booth as well as the race team. At Sonoma, we ran Floyd's of Leadville in the super sport class. And then I rode Josh Cernay in the Ninja 400 class with their partner company, Odessa's Essential, CBD for pets. And just, I'm a friend of Floyd's. Basically, we run a wedding and events venue here in Northern California, Olympias Valley, and we hosted the Levi Lifeheimer Grand Fondo Festa del Fondo fundraiser dinner. Barry Bonds and Floyd Landis and Brian Lopes and all these professional cyclists come, and they raise a bunch of money for at-risk youth, and we just had a couple beverages and we got talking, and it just worked out that we landed a deal and brought them on board to showcase the extreme sports athletes, and it saved my career as far as an athlete and keep me on the right track and not being addicted to opioids. And now we get to showcase them in front of, loyal fans, and it's a good partnership, and I'm proud that I get to represent them and showcase the brand.
It's amazing. It's like the tip of the iceberg with CBD, though, what it can do and what they're discovering that it can do, though. It's really opened up a lot of possibilities. I'm amazed at all the different ways from, taking care of pets to, people. I mean, it's incredible how universal the products are that come from those plants, the hemp. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is really amazing. And Floyd is a very genuine person, and he grew up Amish in Pennsylvania, and that just says a lot about him right there. And so basically, we have the company is out of Leadville, Colorado. That's where the headquarters are. But basically, in Pennsylvania right now, we got Amish that are growing and harvesting and farming and cutting everything down by hand. It's all organic, and the thing that separates Floyd's Leadville is that every batch is batch tested, so you can scan the label and the consistency is there. And they've kind of been a pioneer from the beginning, getting into this CBD for recovery. And definitely, it's been a good story so far.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that he's still got a connection to the Amish community in Pennsylvania. That's really cool. I thought that was something way in his past now, but that's great that he's got that continuity going.
Yeah, they got a farm co-op, and it's just kind of come full circle. Him growing up in Pennsylvania, and he's got a cafe as well. Floyd's of Lancaster Cafe, a coffee shop, CBD, and yeah, it's really cool. They're doing it the right way, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
So I got to go back. We're going to wrap up here, but I got to ask you one more question on the baggers thing. Something that I've been wondering. It seems like whether it's an Indian or a Harley, or what kind of forks are on the bikes, or how much you have for rear sets or use of carbon fiber. The one thing on all these bikes that does make them similar is the fact that, well, it's called the King of the Baggers Invitational, so they do have literally baggers, hard bags on the back of them on either side. It seems like everybody's for sure doing that. My question is, Tyler, what's inside the bags? Are you going to be riding around with anything?
American flag.
American flag. It's like, because it's like every single one of them. I mean, that's what makes them a bagger, right? That's kind of, they have to have those bags on the back. And you guys have done some stuff to make them. They're probably a little bit higher than stock, I would imagine, so you can get over in the corners a little bit. Is that true?
You know what? They're not. They're the stock height, stock width. They're carbon fiber. They're obviously lighter, but the whole thing with us is just getting the swing arm angle up. We were at stock was about 8 degrees swing arm angle, and now we're up to about 13.2. And the forks are about an inch longer than stock, and just getting the ride height up, getting the swing arm angle right, where you can get that thing into the corner, hit the apex. And I think the pipe is one thing that we're working on so we don't drag that. But
So listen, as I recall, I'm going to guess. I think I recall that your stats are. I think at one time you were 5'9". I don't know if you still are. Are you taller than that now?
I'll say I'm 5'8", 5'8", 5'9".
Oh,
Yeah.
5'8". So do
Yeah.
you have any problem touching your feet down on these bikes? I know they have pretty low seats.
I'm kind of 1 foot in it. Actually, it's so tall that
Wow.
I'm one foot in it, and yeah, it's jacked up. Seat height's up. It's super long. We shortened the wheelbase, brought in the offset, took 3 degrees out of the rake. I mean, it's a weapon, man. I'm excited to go out and showcase this new Indian Challenger and just kind of blow people's minds, see how fast we can really go.
Well, man, Paul, we're excited. We've been talking about it a lot, and Paul, it's going to be great, isn't it? I mean, we're gonna be there for sure and get to front row to see these guys. I mean, obviously, everybody wants to see how the corkscrew is going to go and stuff. But it's funny, it's 8 laps, but I almost kind of wish it was more. Although you guys have quite a few practice sessions that are going to be on Live Plus too, so you'll definitely the fans will get to see you guys go around the track, which I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah,
We've
no,
got,
I'm looking forward to
I
it.
think that is the Friday afternoon practice session on our Facebook Live. Yeah.
Yes, that's how we're starting out. Yeah. I don't know if you knew that. We're going to be on
It's
Facebook.
pretty cool. We there's just so much interest in it. You know, people are wanting to know, when they can see it and how they can see it, which we'll all have that. We'll have that information all available. But yeah, it's kind of cool that people just want to see that one of those early practice sessions because I think they're just curious to see what it's going to look like. But I appreciate you coming on the show, Tyler. It was nice talking to you again. You're always one of the good guys in the paddock, so we miss having you in MotoAmerica, but it'll be cool having you back for Laguna. And I wish you luck riding that big thing around there, and just be safe and yeah, I hope you meet your goals.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just got to ride the bike within its limits and try not to override it and just, have the most fun. That's why we're here, and just represent my sponsors and, put on a show. Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and thank you, Tyler. And speaking of being, looking forward to the show, we're looking forward to the fact that, like Paul was saying, our racing is going to be on MotoAmerica Live Plus as well as on, Fox Sports 1, 2, Mav TV, based on what classes it is. But for sure, King of the Baggers, the Invitational, is on MotoAmerica Live Plus, and that's our popular subscription streaming service. And all you have to do is go on to MotoAmerica and look for Live Plus, and you can actually buy just for that round, and you get all the streaming service. You get to hear Roger Hayden. It's going to be great to hear Roger Hayden talk about Tyler and the guys going around on the King of the Baggers. So for sure, subscribe to that if you don't already subscribe to it. And also, thanks for listening to our podcast. And again, thanks, Tyler, for being on.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Talk to you later, Paul.